Hi, welcome to this episode of Founder's Journey. And today we have Tony Lew on the show. How are you, Tony?
Great. Thanks for having me, Jeff. I'm doing great.
Tony,
Yeah.
you are with Insurtech in New York, one of the co-founders there with David Gritz. And, a lot of people know David. And today we get the other co-founder on the show today. And good to have you on the show.
Yeah. Thanks for having me. Yeah. Definitely great to be here and be part of your podcast series.
So if you can tell our audience, like how did you get into this? How did you get into insurance or were you ever in insurance before? And just give us your journey, your story.
Sure. Yeah. So, I mean, I don't come from insurance industry background. My background started originally as a software engineer working on Y2K problems. If for those of you who's from that era know probably what that is. Maybe the newer generation doesn't know, but you used to have this problem where from 1999 to 2000, a lot of the digits were in the system used to be just two digits for the year. So it'd be like 95, 96, whatever, right? Or 75. It didn't actually have 1995. And so when it came time to switch from 99 to 00, it will like people thought the system will get messed up and they'll think that hey, it's actually going from 99 back to 00 and it'll like mess up the whole system. There's like doomsday predictions and this was one of the reasons why the world was gonna end. And so there's like a lot of projects where they had to change the year from two digits to four digits. Anyway, I worked on that a little bit, and that's how I got started in my career as a software engineer. And then I worked on different parts of the technology space. Later on, I focused more on business intelligence and database management for larger corporations and consulting companies. The last company I was at in that world was NBC Universal and working on their cloud system before kind of the AWS days. So this is a long time ago. And then I did a bit of a switch. I got my MBA and then did a complete switch and started joining. I started to work for management consulting companies like BCG. And then later on, I joined Gartner, kind of in the product management role and worked in those companies for a while. And in terms of insurance, I had worked with some insurance clients through these consulting company engagements. Also, when I was at Gartner, we had insurance related research, Insurtech related research. They didn't call it Insurtech back then. And so I had some familiar with the industry, but I definitely wasn't an expert. How I got to insurance is so about 6-7 years ago, I got into like the startup world and having my own business. So I started a couple of businesses. One of them was a consulting business, helping in kind of the go-to-market product strategy world. And I met David Gritz actually in a consulting workshop. This was, I would say, 6-7 years ago. And we decided to kind of partner up. He had more of the product management kind of skill set and also like he knew how to fundraise and things like that. He had a lot of other backgrounds that I didn't have, and I had a lot of background and experience in like product strategy and sales and operations. So we decided to kind of partner up and initially focus on trying to help any kind of startup. We wanted to work with startups because we were kind of tired of working for corporates, at least at that time. And so we want, hey, let's work with like small businesses and help them grow. We work with different types of startups. We even work for this company who was creating like this back end beer tap system for bars, right? That was kind of cool. We all kinds of different companies, right? But we kind of naturally geared towards working with insurtechs, mainly because David just had a lot of network in that world. He one of his part-time role was one of his clients was SVIA, and for those of you who's been in the industry might know they're one of the first kind of communities that focused on Insurtech. It's called Silicon Valley Insurance Accelerator. They're more like an events business. They didn't really do accelerating, but they used to host a lot of events in the West Coast. And so he used to work for them. And so he would host events. It just had a lot of contact there in the West Coast. And he also had some Insurtech clients as well, where he was advising them. And so we kind of naturally kind of progressed, helping more Insurtechs. And we were like, hey, why? And then we were going to visiting other events. So we went to Silicon Valley Insurance Accelerator and going to other events. And we were like, hey, why don't we host something in New York? Because David lives near New York, is South Jersey. I live in New York. And so we were like, hey, why don't we host an event and see what happens, right? And so we hosted an event. This is 2019, August, our first event. We met this law firm and this partner I knew, and then he had some space. So I was like, hey, can you give us a space? And he's like, okay, I can give you the space, but you got to pay for catering and everything. So we're like, okay, we'll do that. And we charge like $25 ticket. And we did some marketing, and David is really good at marketing. And so within 2 weeks, we sold out. Like, it was a small space, but it was sold out. So we're like, oh wow, this is interesting. The law firm loved it because we got a lot of people in. And then we did it again, I think in September. And then we sold that again. And in September, the partner was like, hey, I'll pay for catering, right? So we made some money on the ticket sales. So I was like, hey, this is interesting. Let's do another one. And then the third time we did it, we actually had sponsors who wanted to sponsor us. And this was in December. So at that point, I realized there was a lot of need here for those in the Insurtech ecosystem. And this is carriers, brokers, investors, startups to want to kind of engage and meet in person. And so we kind of basically pivoted our consulting business to more of a community business. And then we decided to host our first annual conference in March 2020. And we prepared everything to happen. We got the venue. We actually started selling tickets quickly, and we actually sold out, basically sold out in February, right? And of course, what happened in March, COVID happened, and then it's kind of interesting how it happened right away. But yeah, and
Tony, walk back us to the date
Yeah.
that when NBA shut down. I think NBA shut down was like the first beginning of the world shutting down, right? Like, when did you guys realize, like, oh, we're screwed?
Yeah, well, so I got a little bit of early insight because my family is from Korea, so I visit Korea like at least once a year, and I went back to Korea in December, and I had to the ticket I had stopped by. It was Wuhan, New York, Wuhan, Seoul was the plane, right? And so when I went to Wuhan and then Seoul, I heard people telling me, hey, are you sure? Is this safe to go to Wuhan? Because there's some, this is in December. In the US, nobody knew, but in Asia, people started hearing it, right? It's I think, and when I went to Wuhan, it was very quiet. The airport was quiet. And then I came back, when I was coming back in January, I stopped by Wuhan as well. Wuhan was really quiet, and people started getting worried for me. They started worrying for me. And so I kind of knew that there was something called COVID happening, right? And it's spreading very fast. And so I was like, hey, I think we might need to consider backup plans, right? And
You guys buy event insurance?
We didn't have event insurance. We should have, but we didn't. But I don't know. There was a reason why we didn't get it, but I forget what it was. But anyway, we had to think about a backup plan, and then we came up with different scenarios. And one of them was going virtual. And so we didn't execute on it, but I was thinking about it, right? If everything had to shut down, we couldn't host it, whatever. There was at least one backup plan that we could work on. And then March, I think 5th or something like that is when Trump announced, hey, nobody can come from Europe. All the planes are basically shut down. And then we started getting cancellations from our speakers. There's some speakers that we invited from Europe, and they couldn't come. And even though most of the people who come to our conference are people in the US. There are definitely people coming from Europe as well. So I was like, hey, this is bad, and like, and this is gonna spread, and they're gonna probably start shutting down other cities too. And so but we still didn't make the decision. And then when we made the decision is, I think like March 7th or something like that, or something like that. It's like a week before, I think week or 2 weeks before, right? I think it was a week before. We went to the venue, and this is the venue was in Chinatown. And this is like during the day, weekday. And when you go to Chinatown, it's like hustling, bustling. It's like super busy, right? Like just tons of people. You're like shoulder to shoulder, usually. But when we went there, it was dead. Like nothing was open. And everybody was inside. And we were like, oh, wow, this is really bad. We can't host a insurance conference here. No, first of all, people are not going to show up. And if they do show up and they get COVID, then we thought we'll be liable. And like, it's just not a good thing, right? So we're like, we can't do this. So we switched to virtual. And we did it pretty successfully. We were able to switch it. We actually gave some additional, like, we actually told people who already bought the ticket a chance to get a refund, or we gave them extra tickets so they can invite other people. And we actually had more people join, and most people, and this is probably one of their first virtual conference they ever attended, right? And they were actually very impressed with how we were able to turn it around. And probably they are a little more forgiving because it was the first virtual conference. So, but anyway, we got really positive feedback from that. And then from there, we basically host a lot of our events virtually for at least a year and a half. But yeah, it's long-winded kind of answer to how I got into insurance is basically, that's kind of how it happened.
Let's fast forward to your first actual event.
Sure.
In-person event, and walk us through that, as someone who is throwing their first event now that you guys done a couple virtual.
Yeah. The first, you mean the one in 2019 or the one we did after COVID?
After
COVID. Okay, got you.
Yeah.
So after COVID, so we did 2 virtual conferences, one in 2020 and 2021. But we also started an accelerator in 2020. So we started hosting for an accelerator that we hosted we called it Growth Stage Accelerator. And it included like 6 weeks of education virtually, and then having the startups meet the carriers. So we did all of that virtually. But we recognize that, when it comes to like, this is all insurance is a relationship game, right? And when it comes to relationship, like nothing beats in person. So we knew we had to go back to in person at some point. So what we did is in 2021, our second accelerator, we decided to host in person. And this is when COVID was kind of coming down, and people were opening up, the city was opening up as well. And we talked to people we're connected with, and most of them seem okay traveling and coming to New York. We made sure we were prepared with masks and like sanitizers and everything. And we make sure there's space in between and all that, right? And so we did our the second accelerator in person, and then we started hosting small events. We also host small events like 100-person events throughout the year as well. So we started hosting that in September 2021, and people are very eager to meet in person. So we were able to get good engagement. And then our third annual conference, 2022, we hosted the Marriott, and that was also quite successful. A lot of people showed up, and and then basically in 2022, everything just opened up. And people were tired of virtual conferences, man. they didn't want to do it anymore. So yeah.
What was the turnout like for sponsors and attendees?
So the Marriott one, we had about 600 people. The future ones we kind of expanded, but that was 600 people, and we had good number of sponsors. I think we had 30 plus sponsors. And funny enough, this is kind of like background business kind of information, but 2022 was a very profitable year for us. because I'm sorry, 2021 was 2021 and 2020 was profitable because we did a lot of things virtually. And when you do virtually, I think 2021 was a good year. When you do things virtually, there's less cost, right? Once you start hosting things in person and the venues are very expensive. And so, but I mean, that's just kind of a side note, but in terms of like attendance and sponsorship, it was good. The revenue was good, but obviously once you start hosting things in person, those venues are very expensive, especially in New York. Yeah, but we can't go back to virtual. It's just, this is not possible.
And you guys try Marriott, and then later on, I've been to your last event at
Yeah.
Pier 60.
Yeah,
Tell us
yeah.
about the thinking behind that.
Yeah, so Marriott was good, but at least the floor we had didn't it was not big enough to host a bigger event, and especially for expo space wasn't just like, it wasn't well suited. Later on, I learned there's other floors that's better suited. So we may in the future go back, I'm not sure. But anyway, for now, we really like working here in Pier 60. And we found this Pier 60 place the year after that. So basically 2023, 2024, and this year, 3 years in a row, we're doing it Pier 60. It's a beautiful space. It's surrounded by water in the pier. It's really the only conference I've been to where the conference expo, you can actually see outside. Most conferences is like in the basement, like, and you can't see out, so you don't even know what time it is. But which Pier 60, you can actually see outside. It's surrounded with beautiful, a lot of sunlight. And we wanted to host 2 tracks of education. It just, for various reasons, there's a lot more innovation happening in the PNC world. And therefore, when you go to Insurtech conferences, innovation conferences, mainly kind of geared toward PNC. But we wanted to kind of change that. We definitely wanted to showcase there's still innovation happening on the life side as well. And also there's a lot of education that can be provided on the life side on innovation. And so we definitely wanted to have 2 different tracks, PNC and life. And this venue allowed us to do that. And they also had a very beautiful expo space that allowed the great startups and vendors to showcase the technology. And so we decided to kind of move here.
How do you guys pick your speakers?
How do we pick speakers? So we I can't really speak for other conferences, but based on what I've seen, it might be a little different. So what we do is we first come up with our agenda, and usually David comes up with the content. So, but high level, we like to cover all the different functions. So we want to start with distribution, and then it could be something like the core system or data, underwriting, right? And then we kind of get into claims. So we want to cover the entire function, and we start with distribution and kind of basically end in claims. And so we knew at least high level, we want to cover those topics. And then every year we come up with slightly different overall theme, and we sort of touch on that. So like first year was, I think it was, forget, one of them was digital distribution. Last year was AI theme. Like every year is a little bit different theme, but we still cover those distribution related claims. And then once we come up with the theme, David will come up with initial titles for each topic, and it could be panels and TED Talk. And so once we have those lined up, we first try to get carrier and broker executives that we know and that are doing interesting things in those topic areas, and ask them if they're interested in speaking. So we try to get at least like 2 carrier and broker speakers lined up. That's kind of our priority. And then we try to add other speakers, and we do have sponsor speakers, and then also others. It could be, interesting startup founder or different experts that we know. And then also we do try to get moderators as well. And for moderators, sometimes panel is really the success of panel is highly dependent on the moderator. If you have a great moderator, it really makes a big difference.
That is so true.
Yeah, and so there's some moderators they can be an expert. They can know everything about the topic, but then when they get on the stage, they don't engage. They don't know how to moderate, because moderating is a skill. Moderating is a skill, right? Like, I don't claim to be a good moderator, but there's some people who are really engaging, and they can, when you say something, they say something, they like add something to it and like make it really engaging. And so we've worked with many different moderators over the past few years. So we have really good, stable moderators, and obviously we get them to moderate some of the panels. But we're always like adding new moderators here and there. But anyway, that's kind of moderator, carrier broker speakers, and then typically we try to add like tech experts or startup founders or vendors to kind of round up the panel.
Nice. Tell us about the VC part, the VC arm of Insurtech New York. And I think a lot of people don't know that.
Yeah.
And then, you guys have a good email newsletter as well. I love reading your email newsletter. I don't know who writes it, so give us the background. Thank you for all your support to our channel. Here is a quick word from our sponsor. Please click on the link below in the comment section to sign up for a demo with Track AI.
What if your insurance sales conversations could work harder for you? Meet Track, your AI-powered conversation intelligence partner. Track automatically captures and analyzes every customer interaction, providing instant call summaries, risk analysis, and AI-driven coaching insights. Say goodbye to manual note-taking and hello to more selling time. Track handles the admin work while you handle the revenue. Fully integrated with your favorite platforms. Plus, get custom AI analysis tailored to your unique business needs. Transform your sales team's performance with Track. Visit track.ai today.
Click the link in the description below to schedule a demo with Track today.
All the newsletter intro is written by David. So he likes writing, and he just has a lot to share. So he likes doing that. So our monthly newsletter is written by David. And then obviously the rest of the section, we have a team who sets that up. And actually, what was the other question?
The VC arm.
A VC arm, that's right. Yes, VC arm. So we launched our first venture fund in 2022. Well, we kind of launched in 21, and then we started investing in 2022. Really because a few different things. So we noticed that there wasn't much investment happening in the early stage side. So we saw a lot of investors investing in Series A and B, but not so much in seed and pre-seed. And there was a big gap. And we wanted to kind of, and frankly, if the startups don't get funded in seed, it's hard for them to get to Series A, right? And so they're struggling. We saw a lot of great startups, but they're kind of struggling to get to Series A. And so we saw a little bit of gap that we thought potentially could help. And then a second is we just had like amazing deal flow. We had so many startups going through our program, accelerated programs, competition, events. In fact, if you had invested in our first cohort, we would have been maybe retired by now, right? So, we were able to select great startups and stuff. We thought, hey, we can maybe take advantage of our deal flow. And also we're able to add a lot of value back to them as well. So once they join our portfolio, we can, we can connect them to customers, carriers, broker, partners. We can add a lot of value back to them through marketing. We can have them, come to our events, speak, a lot of different things. We also can connect them to Series A investors. Like I said, most VCs are Series A investors, so we can connect them to get follow-on funding. So we knew that we had a lot of great kind of things we can do for the startups. And so we started our first one as a small fund, and that's kind of how we got started. And LPs are made up of individuals and family office.
How many pitch did you guys go through?
For what? To get
raise your first fund.
Oh, wow, I can't even count. There's a lot. And we had a lot of LPs. It was a small fund, but we had like 20 plus LPs for our first fund. And then we're raising our second fund, and we actually started our second fund last year. And we raised almost a third of it, but we have already almost 20 LPs on that one too. But we still got some room to accept additional LPs. But yeah, it is a grind. That we're going through what a lot of the startups are going through. This fundraising is a grind. Yeah.
How many seed round check have you guys cut?
We have invested in 16 companies, and I think we invested in 3 of them, so I guess total 19. And most of them are seed. We had a few pre-seed, and probably a couple of them, although they're not officially Series A, they're kind of the Series A-ish round. So we'll do mostly seed, but some pre-seed, some Series A.
And what kind of companies? Insurtech, on the broker space, agency space, MGA space?
I mean, technically all of the above. We would invest in Insurtech. It has to be an insurance related startup. We might do some adjacent startups, but likely chance is that they need to have some kind of at least future plan to come into the insurance space somehow, right? It doesn't have to be their main business, but somehow. And the reason being, we want to be able to add value, and our network and our strength is in the insurance industry. So
your network too, right?
Yeah, network. Yeah, if you go beyond insurance, our network is not that great. And so we wanted to kind of stay in the Insurtech space. And so what that means is it could be PNC, it could be life, it could be benefits, that space. Not so much health as much. I feel like a lot of the health, payers and those guys tend to go to health tech kind of world. Not so much the Insurtech world. But if there's some crossover opportunity, especially a lot of health tech companies can be a life tech as well. So we'll kind of look at that. Yeah, so I mean, across the board, all lines of business in insurance. And then in terms of function, we definitely invest in distribution related companies, brokers, digital brokers, or MGAs, or distribution tech or broker tech or agent tech, however you want to call them, any kind of technology enablers for the brokers. And then also other companies too, like we've invested in underwriting software, claims software, and so all different functions. But we do like distribution space. So like our past 3, I was actually maybe 4 or 5 are all in the distribution space. Past 3 were actually distribution tech. So, we had Atomic, LostScan, which is now Deep Vector, and QuickFacts are all in the broker tech space. So we really believe in helping brokers and having them be productive.
Do you guys lead the round, or do you guys just add checks to it? And who does the valuation?
Yeah, so we do both. So we the last round we did, or the second to last one we did with Deep Vector, we co-led with another venture fund, and then a couple other rounds we had before that. There were like kind of bridge rounds where we're the only one investing. So especially for the second fund, we will probably co-lead. 25% to 50% is kind of our goal, and then the rest will kind of follow on. Yeah.
What's your average check size?
So our average check size from our second fund is going to be somewhere between 100 to 500K.
Interesting.
Which for a seed stage Insurtech who's raising $1 million to $2 million, it could be, decent chunk.
Yeah. Might not be a favorite VC question, but is there any company you guys turned down and then you just like, man, we made that mistake?
Yeah, I mean, there's a few. I think, one of them exited, a couple of them exited, right? So we kind of missed out on that. There was bond company that we missed that. I'm blanking on the name, but there's a couple, but honestly, there aren't not that many. And the reason being, it's not because I'm saying like we were so perfect in our evaluation, but it's a bit early, and so it's hard. It remains to be seen. You know, some of the companies we passed on, they're still like around. Many of them are still around, and they may do well, but we just, you know, but not right now. Maybe 3-4 years from now. Yeah.
Interesting. Well, if we catch up in 9 months to 12 months from now, we have you back on the show.
Sure.
What will you guys be? What would the new rollout be? The new things that you guys will be doing? Anything else on the horizon?
Yeah. Well, so hopefully our fund too will be closed, and it will be with amazing investment. We try to make about 7 investments a year. So you know, maybe next time we're happy to share kind of more about our portfolio, the 16 companies, and hopefully next year it'll be like 24. So we're always excited about our investments, and then yeah, all the other things we are currently doing, the Insurtech Match Accelerator program, our MGA Lab. We're also very excited about our MGA Lab program, which we started 3 years ago. And obviously the competition, we also do early stage startup competition, who will be the finalists will be pitching in our conference in April. And there are a couple other new businesses that actually we're kind of cooking up. I don't think we're ready to kind of announce it yet, but I think 12 months from now, we definitely will be able to announce those. David and I as well loves creating new things, new products, and new businesses. And so sometimes I'm like the no guy, like he's always eager to try something new. And I was like, no, we can't. We're doing all these other things, right? But internally, I like it as well. So it's hard for me to say no all the time. But anyway, there's some really interesting businesses that we're cooking up in the background that hopefully we'll be able to share next time we chat.
That's great to know. And I have a lot of respect for you guys. What you guys do is hard. So, you know, I'm wishing you the best of luck. Stacy, David, you know, these guys are all, I'm a fan of everything they do. So, Tony, it's great actually connecting with you in person, like on this podcast. You know, I've seen you in a couple of events before, but yeah, it's pretty cool what you guys do over there. And I sent you the intake form, and we're gonna put, you know, all your company info, your LinkedIn info in the comment sections. And I hope all of our audience can go there and connect with you and follow you.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. Yeah, we are really excited about our upcoming conference. I think this is going to be the best one yet. And April 2nd and 3rd. The theme this year is Insurtech is a new R&D. A lot of carriers see, and I think they should see working with Insurtech as sort of like an R&D thing. And because you know, in the manufacturing and other industries, they have an R&D budget and they have like an R&D team. But in the insurance world, they don't really have that. But you know, maybe they should kind of see Insurtech as kind of the R&D work. So there's going to be a lot of discussion again, from distribution to core systems to data underwriting to claims. We're going to talk about how Insurtech can help carriers and brokers be more productive and effective. So I'm really excited about that. We have we sold out all our expo booths, so it's going to be a lot of great startups and later stage companies excited to showcase, and amazing speakers as well. We always do like a CEO panel, and this year the theme is like the next generation carrier model, and so we invited CEOs from very interesting companies. So we have CEO C from Everspan, who runs a fronting carrier, and they have a really unique model. We also have a CEO from Abacus Life, who went public, I think, last year, and they're in the life settlement space, also very unique. And then Steve from Homesteader Life, and he has spoken at our conference before too, but they also have a very interesting model that actually is a final expense insurance business who bought a funeral home business. There's something very unique that they've done. So going to be very interesting panel, keynote panel that I'm really excited about. And we also have a number of different exciting panels and speakers lined up. So hope you guys can all join in. For those listeners of the podcast, we have a discount code as well. So hopefully you can take advantage of that.
Awesome. Tony, thank you very much for coming on the show. And I look forward to have you back on again.
Awesome. Thanks for having me, Jeff.